All right, welcome everyone. At this time, we're going to go ahead and call the meeting of August 16th, 2021 to order. City Attorney, is there anything you'd like to report?
Thank you, Vice Mayor Resendez. If the City Council so moves, it will go into closed session to discuss those items agendized for closed session discussion. That's specifically number 1, threat to public safety per Government Code, Section 54957, Chief of Police Carlos Reynoso, Hollister Police Department. Item number 2, conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.8. Number 3, conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.8. And those last 2 items regard the Hollister Police Officer Association and the Hollister Firefighters Union Local 3395. And then finally, item number 4, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, 1 potential case pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9B. That's all, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you. City Clerk, do we have any public speakers for the closed session items?
I have no speakers, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to move to closed session.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Very well. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We'll move to closed session. All right, folks, at this time, we'll go ahead and resume the meeting for August 16th, 2021. City Attorney, would you report out from closed session, please?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The report of our closed session is that the City Council discussed in closed session those items agendized for closed session discussion, which I read into the record before we moved into closed session. Direction was given to staff and negotiators, and the City Council recessed from closed session at 6:50 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Burns, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Yes, thank you. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very well, thank you, sir. Can we get a roll call?
Councilmember Perez,
Here.
Councilmember Burns,
Here.
Vice Mayor Resendez,
Present.
City Manager Miller,
Here.
City Attorney Epperson,
Here.
Chief of Police Reynoso.
Here.
Thank you. The agenda for the City of Hollister City Council regular meeting of August 16th, 2021 was posted on the bulletin board on August 11th, 2021 at 10:15 a.m. per Government Code Section 54954.2. Thank you.
Thank you, City Clerk. At this time, we're going to go ahead and move to presentations. Do we have the representative from Senator Ana Gallardo's office here? Vanessa, I don't see
She
her.
is going to be on Zoom.
Oh, perfect. So we're going to move on to presentations. Number one, Senator Caballero's office has Representative Vanessa Gonzalez here. Ms. Gonzalez?
Vanessa, go ahead.
Good evening, mayors and council members. Can you hear me?
We can.
Perfect, thank you. So hello, my name is Vanessa Gonzalez. I am appeal representative in the office of State Senator Ana Caballero. So thank you for the opportunity to allow me to present today. I wanted to share with the council a program that we did this summer on behalf of Senator Caballero's office, the Young Legislators Program. This is our 4th year doing it in the summer. And so for the Young Legislators Program, we get together students from our district, high school students from freshman to senior year, and they're able to learn about the workings of government, and we also support them in learning how they can be civically engaged in their communities. And so this year we had, I don't know if you can see the presentation. Let me see. Do we have the presentation up?
Vanessa, were you going to share your screen?
Yes, let me see if I can
We can
do
pull
that.
it up for you if you'd like.
Yeah, if you can do that, please, that would be great. I'm trying to figure out how to share it.
We've got it up for you.
Perfect, thank you. So we can go to the second slide. Perfect, so this is the flyer that we sent out to the high schools before the program started. The program was held for 4 Thursdays this summer. It was beginning June 24th all the way to July 14th. And so if you can go to the next slide, please. So we had 14 students from Salinas. We had 2 from Chular and 1 from King City. And then we had, it says 2 from Hollister, but I believe we actually had a total of 4. From the Central Valley, since that covers also part of our district, we had 5 from Merced, 3 from Firebaugh, 3 from Madera, and 1 from Modesto. So a total of 34 students. And the students were able to join us through Zoom. Of course, this year, usually it's held in either in the city council chamber or we've also had it in colleges. I believe 2 years ago we had it in Gavilan College. And this year, unfortunately, we had to have it through Zoom, but it was a learning experience, but I think it overall was a great turnaround. We started with the first session. We had Intro to Government. Second session included mental health awareness. The third session was based on elections and civic engagement. And then the fourth one, we ended it with a mock hearing. So if you can go to the next slide, please. So this year, we had a bunch of great guest speakers. We had Congressman Jimmy Panetta join us. He actually joined us from the floor when he was in Washington. We had Assembly Member Dr. Joaquin Arambola. We had Supervisor from Monterey County, Wendy Root Askew. And if you can go to the next slide, please. We also had a panel of different mayors, which included the mayor of City of Los Baños, Tom Feria. We had mayor of City of Soledad, Ana Velasquez. We had mayor of Merced, which was Matthew Serrato. And then we also had a council member, Anthony Rocha from Salinas. And then here's what it looked like to be virtually. We have, the students that were participating, and then we had the different guest speakers. You can go to the next slide. The second day, we also had the mental health awareness. I think this was a topic that's always really important to the students to discuss. And so we had the Soledad Youth Council, which are really involved in their community with mental health awareness. And we had 3 of the youth speakers join us. If you can go to the next slide. We also had, we thought it was important to have, again, with the effects of COVID, and just the need to talk about mental health. We had the Monterey County Behavioral Health. We had 2 different therapists join us and really dive deep into the challenges of COVID-19 and how students really and their families can search help if they need to, and how they can just understand the resources are available in their communities. You can go to the next slide. And then for the third session, we had also the Fresno LGBTQ plus Resource Center. We had Francisco Diaz, which he's from Hollister, from San Benito County, the elections office. He did a great job really diving deep into what it takes to get registered for voting, because I think that's important for the students to learn, especially since they're reaching the age of being 18 and able to vote. We had, and then also a panel of different youth leaders in our communities. We had Michael Dubisi from North Salinas High School. He was really involved with registering, people to vote last election cycle, and he was only in high school. So he's obviously a great example for the youth. We had Andres Rodriguez, which is also a native from Hollister. He is really involved with the LULAC chapter. So he was one of our guest speakers. And then we also had the Students Working Against Tobacco, which is a youth group led in Madera County. And then Gabriela Manso, which is a youth advocate in building healthy communities in Monterey County. She's a youth equity organizer. So the students were able to connect with them and have break rooms to really ask them questions about what it takes to be a leader in their communities. So we thought it was a great opportunity for them to connect. So you can go to the next slide. And there's a picture. You can see Francisco Diaz there giving his presentation. Next slide. You can go to the next slide as well. And then just to kind of wrap it up, we also, on the 4th day, we had, we really dug deep into what are the issues that the students, thought were important to discuss. The number 1 topic they wanted to discuss was the education, climate change and environment, youth advocacy, and then human rights, economics, and the economy in general. And there was other interests, such as police brutality, LGBTQ plus issues, healthcare, food and nutrition, homelessness, and affordable housing, which, are important to California. So I thought that was great that the students were really wanting to talk about that. So if you go next slide. For the mock hearing, we really prepared the students to learn what it looks like to read a bill. As part of the legislature, they were able to pick 2 bills that they were interested in. And they basically, usually what we would do is we would have them travel to the Capitol during a field trip, and they would be able to to really sit on the committee hearing rooms and basically have a mock hearing and pretend they're assembly members or senators and talk about why this bill is important and how to pass it during a committee hearing. So this year we did it virtually. They were able to present, but we're hoping to, and we promised them a trip to Sacramento once we're clear to go. So that's still going to be pending to make sure that they're able to tour the Capitol and really get to experience that, to know where their legislator works in Sacramento. So next slide. And I know I have 5 minutes, but I just really, again, wanted to share, what we did this summer. And we encourage the city council to, hopefully next year, we have it in person and we can recruit more students from San Benito County. And if you're interested in supporting us and having them possibly participate in the chamber in Hollister. And then I want to introduce, we do have Angel Lee, which is a Hollister participant. So I wanted to give him a quick opportunity to share his experience. If we can have Angel join us.
Hi everyone, I'm actually a girl, not a boy. Sorry for the misconception. I just wanted to speak on civic engagement and being able to develop a combination of social skills, compatible knowledge and problem solving, and to also be able to build upon a motivation to make a change in our world. It's all extremely important and relevant for our upcoming youth. And I really felt that during my time as a young legislator working with Senator Caballero, we as youth, we were able to protect public values while also addressing issues of public concern. Oftentimes, our competency as children is overlooked and undermined when encompassing analytic skills and observation, as well as participatory and involvement within a community, we can all make a huge and lasting difference. This program really helped me to build up my self-confidence, as well as inspire me to set forth and lead as an example, not just a follower.
Thank you so much, Angel, and I apologize about that. I hadn't seen your face, I apologize. So again, we just wanted to present and make sure we shared with the council that we had participants from Hollister, and we hopefully next year should be in-person program. Let me know if you have any questions.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. Thank you, Angel, for coming back and reporting to us. Does the council have any questions or comments at this time?
I would just like to say that this sounds like a really awesome program, and it's really neat to see so many Hollister residents taking part. And thank you, Angel Lee, for your participation, and look forward to next year and seeing what else we can come up with. It looks good. Thank you.
And then, thank you, Councilman Perez. And I just want to say thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. Please send our regards to the senator. I'm excited and inspired to always see our youth members get involved in civic engagement. So I look forward to the next youth legislations program. If we can get, it looks like we're going to partner with them to help promote that, to get some more people engaged from our city. I would love to help out with that. Thank you.
We will help with the application process, getting the applications out there.
We appreciate that. Thank you so much.
All right,
Have a good night.
thank you. All right, thank you again. At this time, we're going to go ahead and move on to item A, consent items. Is there any items that the council would like to pull at this time?
Vice Mayor Resendez, please.
Go ahead, sir.
I'd like to pull item A5 and A7, please.
Any more? All right, City Clerk, are there any items that the public would like to pull from the consent agenda at this time?
I have no items, Mr. Vice Mayor.
All right, at this time, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to approve items other than A5 and A7.
So moved.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. At this time, we'll go ahead and move on to item A5.
Good evening, City Council. Do you have any questions? Are there any questions?
Vice Mayor.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. I do. I have two.
Okay.
My first question is, as it relates on the staff report of the report itself on page 27, it talks about promoted employees shall serve a mandatory 6-month probationary period. I'm not sure, I'd like to know what the prior understanding was for promoted employees. And I guess my point is, in regards to that, why not a year probation? I noticed in the language that if somebody fails probation, they have the ability to bounce back to their previous job classification. And my sense is 6 months isn't necessarily enough time to allow somebody to clearly demonstrate their proficiency at a new position. And if we typically have a 12-month probationary period for new hires,
Yeah.
it seems inconsistent to me. So, please.
Yeah, no, I think between the city and the groups, we just felt that with an employee that had been here already a few years and had applied or promoted to a new position, that 6 months would be adequate enough, just as time served. And we just felt that a shortened period of time would be sufficient.
And Councilmember Burns, SEIU was kind of ironic. SEIU was the one initially that made it 1 year probation for promotions. This was like probably 10, 12 years ago. Where some of the other bargaining groups, it is actually only 6 months for them also. So that we were just getting them back in parity with the other groups.
Thank you. I guess my second question is, there, on page 2, it talks about a salary adjustment for water operators, and then there are percentages listed. And I'd like to know, is this going to help us curb our challenges and turnover in that group of employees? And why, or how did you arrive at those specific percentages as opposed to maybe 5, 10, and 15%?
I think just between meeting in good faith and bargaining back and forth, that was the city's last best and final offer, counteroffer proposal to the group. And we felt that it would be sufficient enough with the high turnovers that the department has experienced the past few years with their water operators, losing them to other agencies with higher pay.
Right. Yeah, it should get a, one agency that we were really comparing to was Sunny Slope, because it was sometimes kind of easy to say if another employee maybe was like $500 difference a month to go to, say, Watsonville or a place much further. That drive time in fuel costs would easily eat up the 500. But somebody, like Sunny Slope Water District, which is just a mile away, we wanted to make sure we were at least equivalent to them. So this will do that. And then also the different breakdown, I believe, was the last offer from the union, in which we felt was equal or adequate.
So, City Manager, you believe that with these adjustments, and as I read it, that's in addition to the COLA and the
Correct,
other pay
correct,
raise?
Correct.
Okay. And so again, if it doesn't get us to where we need to be in 2 years,
We will
then we'll have more data to
Correct.
suggest a different adjustment?
Yeah, you are correct.
Thank you. Those are my questions. Thank you for your presentation. Vice Mayor, those are the only questions I have. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions from the council at this time? Any questions from the members of the public on this item?
I have no speakers, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, City Clerk. At this time, we'll entertain a motion for item A5.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, we got a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Sorry, I'm an aye. Any opposed? All right, hearing none. This item's approved. We'll go ahead and move on to item A7. And it looks like,
I'll be answering those questions.
thank you, sir.
Vice Mayor?
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, sir. City Manager, I have again a couple of questions in regards to A7. And my first question would be, what does the CAL FIRE currently pay for the space that they lease or rent?
We'll have to get that number for you. I'm sorry. I mean, this part of the lease is for them to use a piece of land to land their helicopter that they will use during the fire season. So I will get council the total amount of rent for the whole facility.
So in reviewing the contract, it looked like it's about somewhere between $1,000 and $1,100 a month. Does that sound correct?
I believe it's more than that, so, yeah,
'Cause
because there's
I-
different pieces to the lease, so I'd have to get them all together.
Right, and in reviewing the document, I was not clear on, is it a lease or is it rent? Because it looked like there was a termination clause, a 30-day advance notice, and they could bail on it.
Correct. Yeah, it is rent.
It's
We just call it a
rent.
lease, yeah.
And do we know what other jurisdictions like Hollister pay for CAL FIRE to stage at their municipal airports?
Not for a helicopter, no, because a lot of their helicopters were on their own bases. So on that one, we just didn't go.
And so this agreement is solely to rent that space simply for the helicopter?
Correct.
And so how does that tie into their existing lease for their facility?
Their facility is more for their aircraft and for the retardants. So it's a bigger facility, a lot harder to move around. Like I said, this is more just for them to have a place to land their helicopter.
So, and do we know when that lease or rent agreement, is that month to month as well?
It's month to month, but it's for another, they just renewed it, so I believe it's another 4.5 months.
Another 4.5 months?
Correct.
Okay,
Sorry,
because,
that's right, 4.5 years, not months.
okay. Thank you, City Manager. Vice Mayor, those are my questions. I guess my comment is, before saying yes to this, I'd like to understand the bigger picture personally. Thank you.
Any other questions from the members of the council at this time?
None.
Thank you. City Clerk, do we have any members of the public that would like to speak on this item?
We do not, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you. So it sounds like, Councilmember Burns, you want a clearer understanding. I'm wondering if we can get him the clearer understanding and if we can move this item to the next city council agenda.
Yeah, we could move it to the next city agenda because I know CAL FIRE wants a place to land that helicopter as soon as possible. So, yeah, we'll get it on the next one.
All right.
So we'll get the total rent together. Yeah, like I say, this is time sensitive, so we will get it on. Because also that's 3 weeks from now, so that'll be more than enough.
In that report, will that include the, what they're paying for their building also, not just the
Correct.
helipad? Yes,
Correct, yeah, it'll be
Just wanna make
the
sure.
total rent of that whole
of
facility.
the whole facility.
Okay, so do we want to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to withdraw it pending further information being provided to 3 weeks from today.
Okay,
That's fine.
all right. Thank you. Does anybody want to second that?
Second.
Very well. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Well, there's nobody else here, so motion passes. Thank you. All right, folks, at this time, we're going to go ahead and move to item C. This is public input. This is the time for anyone in the audience to speak on any item not on the agenda and within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. Speaker cards are available in the lobby and are to be completed and given to the city clerk before speaking. When the city clerk calls your name, please come to the podium, state your name and city for the record, and speak to the city council. If you're joining via Zoom, please click on the bottom of your screen to raise your hand. If you're joining Zoom via using a cell phone, please press *9. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes with a maximum of 30 minutes per subject. Please note that the state law prohibits the city council from discussing or taking action on any items not on the agenda. City Clerk, do we have any members of the public that would like to speak during public input?
We have none, Mr. Vice Mayor.
All right, so then at this time, we're going to go ahead and move on to item D. D1, City Manager, do you have anything to report?
Nothing to report?
Thank you, sir. Item D2, do we have anything to report?
Nothing to report at this time.
All right, very well. Thank you. At this time, we're going to move on to item E1. It's a public hearing, so at this time, we'll go ahead and open. Well, do we do it now or do we do it during public comment? Do we open it
We,
during public comment?
council can discuss, and then you can open to public.
Perfect, very well. Thank you.
Awesome.
Good evening, Vice Mayor and City Council members. My name is Amber Cameron. I'm an Associate Planner with the Development Services Department. The item before you tonight is an appeal of action taken against the Planning Commission's decision to deny the applicant's request to remove condition of approval number 55 of PC Resolution 2016-11 for tentative map 2015-9 as amended by PC Resolution 2017. 31, which requires the applicants to provide an emergency vehicle access, or EVA, from the proposed Farmstead subdivision to the West Side Boulevard. So just a little bit of background information. On January 28, 2016, the Planning Commission adopted PC Resolution 2016, approving tentative map 2015-9 for a 13-lot residential subdivision located north of Steinbach Drive, south of South Street, east of Brennan Way, and west of Westside Boulevard. At this meeting, the Planning Commission included a condition of approval, condition number 55, which requires the applicant to provide an EVA, or emergency vehicle access, to Westside Boulevard. On December 21st, 2017, the Planning Commission adopted PC Resolution 2017-31, which amended the condition of approval for the tentative map 2015-9. The condition was modified to read that an emergency vehicle access per condition number 55 of the Planning Commission Resolution number 2016-11 prior to the issuance of a building permit, that the applicant should provide an emergency vehicle access to Westside Boulevard. On March 1st, 2021, the applicants submitted a request to the Planning Department to amend the condition of approval for the tentative map to remove the request for providing emergency access as a part of the subdivision. On April 22nd, 2021, the City of Hollister held a public hearing at its Planning Commission to consider the applicant's request. The applicant had cited the following for the basis for the request to remove condition of approval number 55. 1. On February 1st, 2021, in reviewing the request for specifications related to the construction of the emergency vehicle access, Fire Marshal Bedoya had volunteered that the project did not need emergency vehicle access and stated that it had adequate access in and out of the development. 2, the completed 38-home subdivision along the shared western border, which is also known as the cottages, shares the same access to the South Street via Brennan Way, which was not required to provide an EVA as the homes are fully sprinkled. The homes in the Farmstead subdivision will also be fully sprinkled. Number 3, the California Fire Code may require an accessory fire access road if more than 30 homes are being served by a single access road, but may not be required if all the homes are sprinkled. Number 4, removing the emergency vehicle access will lessen the impact of health, safety, and the physical environment in the following ways. A, the installation of the emergency vehicle access will require the demolition of 30 feet of existing curb, gutter, and sidewalk of West Side Boulevard, in addition to the removal and disposal of those soils. Impervious surfaces will be increased by the block of concrete extending to the front of the road of the project on Lindsay Way. In a heavy rain, sheets of water could run down the width of the road and flow over the West Side Boulevard sidewalk to its gutter. B, children may be drawn to the ramp, which is sloped on the emergency vehicle access concrete when riding their bicycles, running, or skateboarding, and perhaps could spill directly into the busy arterial road of West Side Boulevard. C, as the curb and sidewalk drop to the level of the gutter at the margins of the emergency vehicle access, the change in the sidewalk could cause a trip and fall incident with potential liabilities to all. D, improvements require if the EVA is vacated. If required for an emergency vehicle is removed, the existing curb, gutter, and sidewalk for West Side Boulevard will remain intact, undisturbed, and avoid demolition. The surface of the sidewalk will remain flat with no break in grade and risk of tripping. The metal fence with landscaping on both its sides will continue over the emergency vehicle access with preventing pedestrian access from the subdivision onto West Side Boulevard, and a driveway would not need to be installed in the eastern curb of Lindsay Way, allowing its curb and gutter to continue uninterrupted, preventing rain from overflowing onto the emergency access area and the sidewalk of West Side Boulevard. The Planning Commission heard and considered testimony from city staff and the applicant, the public, and information presented in the staff report at the April Planning Commission meeting. A resident of the nearby college's subdivision spoke in support of keeping the emergency vehicle access, stating that the neighborhood had recently experienced a fire within the development. The fire had taken place at the last home on Patrick Drive and the entrance at South Street. She stated that the entire entrance to Brennan Way, as well as portions of South Street, were blocked during the incident by emergency vehicles. She also expressed that she was concerned that a builder would suggest eliminating any vacation accesses routes when it came to something that the community has already dealt with. Fire Marshal Bedoya had stated that he was neutral about the removal or retention of the emergency vehicle access for this location. He stated that in the past, the city had required developments to include EVAs. However, this is not considered to be current or best practice and is no longer considered for new projects. For new developments, the city's emergency services departments require the appropriate amount of access points per code with no emergency vehicle access points. After closing the public hearing to consider the request, the Planning Commission voted to deny the applicant's request to remove the condition of approval number 55 and to uphold the original conditions as amended. On May 6, 2021, Alex Siwak and Ingrid Siwak filed a timely appeal of the Planning Commission's decision to the city clerk. A public hearing was scheduled for today before the City Council for consideration of the appeal. The appellants have chosen to appeal the Planning Commission's decision to the city as they believe that the present and future residents of the colleges and the Homestead Division will be better served without a EVA. For the reasons cited above, the applicants have proposed a pedestrian emergency access as a possible alternative, which will have a gated walkway between the interior of the subdivision and West Side Boulevard that is latched but not lockable. The applicants have appealed the Planning Commission's decision to keep the EVA to the City Council for their consideration and ultimate decision. The Planning Commission's decision was based upon the findings of the original Planning Commission approval, testimony from the public, and is a desire to keep a secondary access point, if only for pedestrians in case of an emergency. With that, tonight, staff is recommending that the City Council consider the following votes. One of two options. One, adopt the resolution and accept the appeal, overturning the Planning Commission's decision and removing the requirement for an EVA access. Or two, deny the resolution, deny the appeal, upholding the Planning Commission's decision and keeping the requirement for an emergency vehicle access. Are there any questions for staff? The appellants are also in the audience if you have any questions for them as well.
Thank you. At this time, are there any questions or comments from the council regarding this item?
Vice Mayor Tim Burns.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. I do have a few questions. So, in hearing your presentation and reading the staff report, it appears that I've heard that the acting chief is not opposed to removing it, and then I've heard that he's neutral in it. And it appears in either case that he would be in conflict with the Planning Commission's decision. And so, did the Planning Commission factor that into their decision? And what was the rationale for them denying the appeal?
Thank you, Amber. Thank you so much. If you may, Mr. Mayor, and I can try to help answer that question. Thank you. So yes, the fire chief, he wasn't able to be here this evening. He had another engagement to attend in regards to his staff. But during the planning commission, he was present, and he wasn't physically present, but he did speak, and he addressed the planning commission. And essentially, what he indicated was that when the plans were taken to him and he reviewed them, his determination at that point was that for a project the size of what was being proposed, in this case, this particular case, 13 single-family homes, in a development of an additional existing 39 to 40, total of about 53 units, that a secondary, that an EVA would not be necessary, he indicated. But he did indicate that in the future, he would prefer not to have an EVA, an emergency vehicle access, but an actual secondary access to be established. And so one of the things that we were talking about during the planning commission, and when we talked to the chief, was that when the development was originally approved, the planning commission at that time actually determined that an emergency vehicle access be placed on the development to have a secondary access in case of an emergency. And then, as Amber was indicating as part of her presentation, we did have one of the residents who lives on the cottages subdivision, the existing 39 units there that were recently built, that did indicate that when there was a fire on the home right next to South Street, that in case things would have been bigger, thankfully they weren't, but in case things would have been bigger, that she felt safe that there was a possibility that if needed, they can open up that EVA once implemented, and they can evacuate if needed.
So did I hear in the presentation that there's 13 homes being proposed to be built or approved to be built?
Correct.
And there are 39 pre-existing?
That is correct.
And did I hear that an EVA or something greater would be required with a total of 30 or more homes?
Oh, so the EVA was required by the planning commission. However, the fire chief indicated that, and I would have to get the exact number. The fire chief indicated now, and I do want to make sure to clarify that there was a different fire chief back when the project was originally approved in 2016, but the fire chief indicated now that for the 39 plus 13, 52 homes that will eventually be there overall, that a secondary access would not be needed. And normally, he would not normally recommend an EVA or secondary access if this was barely coming to him for his review now. And that if at any rate that a second access was proposed overall, that he would prefer not to be an emergency vehicle access, but rather an actual secondary access.
Thank you, and I understand
Sure.
that, but that's not feasible in this case based on the pre-construction that's occurred and what's been previously approved, correct?
That is correct. Has been previously approved, and the applicant has actually submitted for their final map, and that has been approved already. The emergency vehicle access is indicated there. It's just now that the applicant is stating for the reasons stated in Amber's report of the opportunity to remove if it is the desire of the city council.
So, thank you. So prior to the appeal hearing before the planning commission, was the what radius was noticed of the meeting?
Sure, thank you, Councilmember Tim. So the notification was within 300 feet of the overall site. So we look at the site, and then we do a 300-foot radius. Plus, we do also a publication on the newspaper, and the publication is published at minimum 10 days prior to the public hearing. At that time, I don't think we had on-site notification. Now we do. We actually have a billboard that 24 by 36 in size. I don't, off the top of my head, I don't think we had that requirement at that time. But it's a 300-foot notice. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And so I heard you say that one person spoke before the planning commission.
Yes.
Did any others send an opinion through writing, or were there comments made to planning and development through phone conversations or emails?
That was the only one that we received, and it was during the public hearing when the commissioner, the chair of the commission, opened up the public hearing. One person spoke via telephone.
Thank you.
You're
So I also heard in the presentation that if an EVA is not required, that they were going to make a pedestrian pathway.
That could be an
Is that-
option. The city engineer and staff would work with the developer to see what would be the best thing to do to accommodate that area where the EVA would be in place. But that's one thing that we considered would be at least a pedestrian pathway.
Thank you. And I guess my final thought or question would be, maybe it said, and maybe I just didn't catch it. What was the, beyond obviously a denial of the request from the Planning Commission, what was the rationale for denying the request?
Sure. Thank you for that, Councilmember Tim. The rationale was that the discussion it was a very lengthy discussion that occurred during the Planning Commission. We listened to the fire chief also speak and the member of the public, and the rationale was that because the Planning Commission at that time of the original development felt that it was when the development was proposed and was processed through the city and then processed through the original public hearing, the commission at that time felt that emergency secondary access would be required, and so they felt that they wanted to uphold that decision.
Thank you both for your presentation. I appreciate the clarification.
Thank you, Councilmember Burns. Any other questions from the council or comments at this time?
When you guys were talking about the access for the residents, the walkway, what does latched and not locked mean?
So it would be if we do end up having, for example, a gate, because this particular subdivision would not have a sound wall along West Side Boulevard. It would be essentially maybe like a tubular fence type of proposal that we will have, not necessarily a sound wall there. To have the homes are going to be facing West Side Boulevard, but it's going to be the homes, then the road, and then the landscaping sidewalk. And so we do want to see if we can have some type of maybe like a tubular fencing. And if the EVA is not going to be supported and it's going to be eliminated, then we would probably want to have some type of gate to have pedestrians at least be able to access West Side Boulevard with the gate that can not necessarily be kept locked, but would be able to be just latched and can be open and closed upon the pedestrian walking towards West Side Boulevard or back from West Side Boulevard into the subdivision.
So the appellants have also provided packets, and within that there is a picture of an existing non-lockable latched fencing that exists right now, and that's off of Hillcrest Meadows, off of Hillcrest Road. So that's kind of an example of what was given as consideration for a pedestrian emergency access.
Yeah, my concern is for the safety of those residents in that area. But if fire department would sign off on this, which they did, then it's perfectly feasible to me. What about the police department? Do you guys have any input? Or
Yes, we're aware of the situation, and I understand that the fire chief did not have a concern because of the number of homes there. So, being that they're sprinkled and they have sprinklers and all that, so we have no objection to that. I think that it makes sense either way. The county, the council decides on this matter.
that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I guess I do have a couple questions. So it looks like if we build an EVA, it would connect to, it looks like Amore Street. and it would come directly out and give access to West Side Boulevard. So if we don't build emergency vehicle access there, then what would go there? Would it be more homes or a house, or what does that design look like?
So, are you speaking as if there wouldn't be like a pedestrian access at all, or either or, I should say?
I'm just wondering, are they going to put more houses there rather than put a EVA?
No. So there wouldn't be any additional houses. It would be landscaping, the perimeter fencing that would be there. That's what would take up that space.
But it would not be significant for a fire truck to go through. It would just be significant enough for a pedestrian to walk through.
That's correct.
Okay, and just looking at the design, there's only currently one entrance in and out of that development. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and then I remember that fire. It was at the very last house, and it was at that one entrance. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, so all right, thank you. Any more questions? Okay. At this time, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. If there are any members from the public that would like to speak on this item, now would be the time.
Mr. Cybak?
Good evening, council members. Thank you for hearing our appeal. And I'd like to thank Clerk Black that she made a number of copies. Unfortunately, when I made the attachments to the email, they weren't put in, when the email was sent, it wasn't in the order that I originally wanted them to be, so I might have to skip around a little bit. On the first page is the actual our 13-lot subdivision, and the blue line at the bottom shows the EVA. It's 26 feet wide. It would be an extension of Amore Street that's existing now in the 38 homes. The barricade that's currently obstructing Amore Street would be removed, and there'd be 26 feet minimum of paved roadway extending from Amore Street directly into the 4 lanes of traffic on West Side Boulevard. At the north end of our project, there's a 4-way stop sign on West Side and South Street. People stop there, and then on the southbound lane right next to our project and fronting the EVA, people pick up a significant amount of speed. There's no 4-way stop sign. There's no stop sign for West Side Boulevard traffic on the next intersection to the south, Steinbeck, and a stop sign at Apricot Lane further down. But most of the time, once the people stop at the stop sign on South Street, they're zipping along at that point where the EVA comes in about 600 feet below that intersection. There's a Google map of the existing 38 homes, the cottages, and our future subdivision is going to lie between the easterly boundary of that existing subdivision and West Side Boulevard. The bottom street, Amore, is going to be is continuing into our project. Will turn in a frontage road along our 9 lots backing up to the cottages, and the Amore Street will continue on into the EVA. As soon as you get past the first couple of homes off South Street, both projects are served by a dual access road. You can either exit through up Brennan Way or up our future street to be installed, Lindsay Lane. My wife did the subdivision immediately to the east of our current project, and that was roughly 30 homes. They were all on a cul-de-sac with no EVA.
Thank you, sir.
And I would just add, on the very last page is a comparison of what an existing EVA looks like at the south end of San Benito Street and what the pedestrian gate looks like on Hillcrest Meadows.
Very well. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ingrid Cybak?
Good evening, council members. My name is Ingrid Siwak, and I've owned this 2 acres for 35 years. It is the remainder parcel after I built the 60 homes south and east of it over 20 years ago. As a general contractor, I plan to build these 13 homes and I will be on site. As a grandmother of 10 beautiful children, it really upsets me that the city continues to insist a 26 feet wide EVA opens into 4 busy traffic lanes on West Side Boulevard. I fear for the safety of the kids riding their bikes, playing ball, and skateboarding and chasing, maybe their dog into West Side Boulevard. And as the police chief also noted before, the EVA will increase the risk of burglaries. We've seen next door Hollister with all the evening visitors we have, at our homes. I want to be on the record that I did everything possible to protect my future buyers who do not have a voice tonight. Replacing the EVA with a gate similar to what is installed for Hillcrest Meadows is what I hope you will approve. The record shows if the map was filed today, an EVA would not be required. The fire marshal would not request an EVA, and even if installed, he has stated he would not use it. No section of the code requires it, and all the homes will be sprinklered or are sprinklered. For the past 3 years, all 38 homes of the cottages have been on a cul-de-sac barricaded from West Side Boulevard. When we complete our subdivision, once past the first homes off South Street, dual access for ingress and egress will be provided for all remaining 50-ish homes. Thank you for your consideration this evening.
Thank you, ma'am.
I have no more speakers, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you. At this time, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. I'll bring it back to the council. Are there any questions or comments from the council at this time?
Vice Mayor.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. For staff, I've heard the public comment about the concern for public safety for kids chasing balls or dogs or things out onto the main road. If we were to move forward with the EVA, is there a way to at least control the concerns about traffic through stop signs or other controlling devices, traffic calming devices?
Thank you, Councilmember Tim. So there is a stop sign right now south on West Side Boulevard, and then towards the south, I believe the next one, I'm not sure if there's one on Steinbeck Road, but no, so it would probably be Apricot. Yeah, and so because Steinbeck would be too close to Apricot, so I think that's probably why there was not one there. But yeah, I think at this time it would be a gate similar to the one that's probably between on Memorial Drive, right between the Highway 25 and Memorial Drive. There is one that's existing there to the south, getting closer to Memorial Drive, which is basically an open area with the gates that can be opened if necessary.
So, and that would only be opened for emergency reasons, correct?
That is correct.
So in essence, the concern about our kids going out there it might not prevent it, but it could certainly limit it.
Correct. The gate, it would be a gate more than likely that would be in place that can only be opened in case of an emergency, which would make it not necessarily the most efficient way to get in, but I mean, certainly people can still more than likely be able to get in and out.
Right. And then I guess my final question would be, again, during public comment, I heard the applicant indicate that under current code, it wouldn't be required based on the number of homes, but would the homes have to have been constructed in a different way since there wouldn't have been the requirement for an EVA or some escape road?
Thank you, Councilmember Tim. So at that point, we would have analyzed it thoroughly through our development review committee to see if, just because, so one factor would be the number of homes, and I would have to confirm with Chief Bedoya, Acting Chief Bedoya right now. But another factor would be just the layout of the proposed development as well. Apparently, in our consultations with the chief, it appears that just simply on the number of homes, the EVA would not be required for the reason stated that the homes are sprinklered and there's a fire alarm. However, there is still the option of a secondary access, and so the secondary access, it really just depends on the layout of the development. Certainly, in this particular case, there is just one access on South Street where there's ingress and egress, and so we would. If this was coming today, we would have to review it through our development review committee and determine whether or not, more than likely, if Chief would go against the EVA, he would determine whether or not an actual secondary access would be required. But he has stated that he wants to do away with EVAs if not required, and either determine that an actual secondary access be indicated, or just keep one.
I get that. I understand that the EVA is the lesser of the desirable alternatives.
Correct.
However, I also heard in staff presentation that there was in fact a fire in that area, and it did impact the ability of others to leave that area, I presume because of emergency personnel and equipment. Did I understand that and interpret that correctly?
That is our understanding, yes.
Thank you. Thanks for your presentation.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments at this time from the council?
Vice Mayor, if I just may add just a point of clarification to a question that Councilmember Burns had brought up. I do have an email from Fire Marshal Bedoya where it's citing specific fire code. So it is section D 107, 1 or 2 family residential developments. And this code states that developments of 1 or 2 family dwelling units where there are dwelling units that exceed 30 shall be providing 2 separate accesses with an approved fire apparatus access road, but there are 2 exceptions to that, and the first exception would apply to this particular development, that being that where there are more than 30 dwelling units on a single public or private fire apparatus access road, and all dwelling units are equipped throughout with an approved automatic sprinkler system in accordance with section 903.31.1, section 903.31.2, and or section 903.31.3 of the California Fire Code. Access from 2 directions shall not be required.
Thank you. I do have some final thoughts on this item. I remember that fire quite clearly. Some of my coworkers actually pulled over and helped the family. It was at the very end, and it blocked access to anybody getting out from there. So that really does resonate with me. I had some firsthand accounts of it. I do understand the concerns of the person. This was a condition of the approval, was it not?
That is correct. When the project development originally came in, that was a condition of approval. And to add to that, even if it's not required by law, if the development review committee once reviewing the subdivision proposal requires that for safety reasons it should have a secondary access, that would be a recommendation that we add to the planning commission. But to answer your question, Councilmember Sanders, that is correct. That was a condition of approval.
So it looks like this was a condition of approval in 2016. This project was not being built out today, so I don't think it's fair to compare it to as if it were today. And we too have a responsibility to advocate for the future neighbors there. And we have to think those actions through now, because I don't think that the person that had that fire at the end of the street really might have even thought about it then. We have an obligation to advocate for their interests. I think that the Planning Commission made a great choice and they made a good decision. And I think that we need to uphold that decision. So that would be my position.
So, does anyone know during that fire, was there another exit for the residents to get out. So there was no pedestrian, would you call it, a evacuation area?
No, it's just open right now. It's the 38, 39 units that are existing, and then to the east, it's open field right now. Yes, a more street dead ends.
Mhm.
When this development starts, construction of this development would extend a more basically in a
Just
circle.
extend it around.
Yeah, to South Street. That's correct.
Yeah. So I'm kind of torn between this because it's like, first of all, if this is something we've already agreed to, we're going to find out that I'm pretty much a stickler to that. But at the same time, if the sprinkler's already going to be installed with everything, I understand that. Yeah, I'm kind of torn, and the obligation to the residents for their safety. Them having their fire suppression apparatus in the house is good. Yeah, it's a tough one.
Any other questions or comments from the council at this time? At this time, we'll go ahead and entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion in regards to Resolution 2021-156 to deny the request of appeal.
Very well, sir. We got a first. Do I have a second? I'll go ahead and second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
Right, got 2-1. Item passes.
You want to?
Unfortunately, well, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your perspective, Mr. Vice Mayor, because we only have 3 council members, everything will need to be unanimous this evening.
So what would you recommend that we do?
That's essentially no action on the item, and it would come back to another meeting when we have a floor council.
So can we call for another vote or reconsideration of
Yes.
the vote?
Yes, another motion can be made. I'm sorry, it would need to be a slightly different motion, though. It can't just be the same motion again.
Okay, so it looks like we have 2 options. We can either make another motion to vote on, or we can, well, the item's going to move forward regardless. If we don't, we're at a standstill. So we can table it until the next city council meeting, or it's going to go regardless. We don't need to table it, right? All right. So unless somebody wants to make a motion, the item's going to be tabled.
I'll be honest with you, I think it's a little cleaner if a motion is made to continue it to a date certain.
I agree.
And I'm sorry, I'll rely on the city clerk as to what that date certain would be.
September 7th?
I'd like to make a motion to continue it to September 7th.
All right, we got a first. Does somebody want to second that?
A second.
Very well, we got a first and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Well, there's nobody here, so. Motion passes. We're going to table it to September 7th of 2021. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vice Chair, if you don't mind, staff requests that we have F1 pulled from the agenda. We ask that council accept that.
Okay. Does a member of the council, well, we still need to open it up to public comment, don't we? Since it's agendized?
I would ask that you do, please,
Yeah.
yes.
All right. Any questions, comments from the council at this time regarding this item? All right, hearing none. Do we have any speakers that would like to give input on this item?
I have no speakers, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Very well. We'll bring it back to the council at this time. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, so we've got a motion to withdraw the item, a first and a second. All those in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to item 2, F2.
Good evening, Vice Mayor Resendiz and council members. Tina Garza, Recreation Services Manager. The item before you is Resolution 2021-158, and this is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Hollister approving an application for our Prop 68 non-competitive per capita grant. The resolution authorizes staff to apply for this non-competitive grant from Prop 68. Are there any questions?
Any questions from the council regarding this item? Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. What does non-competitive mean?
It means that I think it was in the report that the state allocated $177,000 to any city that had a population under 200,000. And so with that being said, the city of Hollister, the city of San Juan Bautista each received an allocation of $177,000, and I think almost $178,000. So with that, we can use that for any type of project that we see fit that is in a area that could be considered like a low-income area or at-risk youth area. And if we choose not to use this grant money for site location, then we would have to provide 20% of the per capita allocations. I think it was almost 40,000 that the city would have to provide towards the project. So this non-competitive grant means that we apply for this grant, we receive the money, and we write in there what we'd like to do with the funding. And the funding we chose was the clubhouse at Dunn Park. There's an area that was used many years ago for a nonprofit to hold after-school activities. And then I think a couple of years later, they moved to a different area and just kind of used the small room as a storage area. And the city stepped in, feeling that recreation could maybe be able to offer some activities in the area, in the room, but we realized it wasn't a safe place for our community residents. So we used it as a storage area. We stored a lot of our Junior Giants equipment. When we first started, we had almost 800 children, so that was kind of our meeting place. And then after it was tested for asbestos and paint toxins, and it was tested high. So when I reached out to the state on this Prop 68, I asked if we could use some of that funding to remove the toxins and asbestos. That's what I'm trying to say. And the funding could be used towards some of that, but not all of it. And then we would create a meeting place for our community.
So I presume then, based on what you've now said, that we've reassessed and we believe it's a safe environment?
It is, at this time, it is not a safe environment. With some of the grant funding, we could use some of that money to create a safe environment for our community.
Okay. Would we also be able, if we wanted to, use some of that money to purchase a camera for the police department to monitor the area?
That's a good question. I know that we're not able to use it for any upgrades or maintenance. For instance, our roof, because I did ask if our roof can be replaced, and we're not able to use it, but I could ask if we can use it for cameras.
Thank you. I think this is a great opportunity that I hope that we choose to explore and not lose. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the council at this time?
Yes.
Go
Did
ahead,
you
sir.
mention the roof?
I did mention the roof, and we're not able to use this grant funds for the roof. I have been working with a couple of roofers, and it's going to be to replace the tile roof because of the Adobe building. It could range anywhere between $30,000 to $50,000. In my report, I did request or let the council know that up to $50,000 that we would be asking for to replace the roof.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I do have a question, Ms. Garza. So my understanding was the Prop 68 grant that we were going to go for was to build a new recreation center over at the old Leatherback site. Are these two different things that we're talking about? Am I getting confused here?
We've applied so far. The city has applied for a few, but what I've been involved with is the Prop 68, which was what they refer to as round 3, and that was a couple years ago in 2019, and the city was not granted that grant. We applied for the Leatherback property and Fire Station 2. And then this past year, 2020, we applied for what the state referred to as round 4, and we applied again for Fire Station 2 and Leatherback, and we should be hearing from each of those. We were working with some of the state Parks and Recreation Department just last week on a couple of things. So they did interview us and noticed that the only thing we changed at some of our parks was a few amenities, but that was it.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that
Yeah,
for me.
real quick, Vice Mayor, this is covered for both of you. So the Prop 68 at Leatherback, that's a competitive grant where we're competing with other agencies. A non-competitive one is where, as long as we have the projects, we get the money with no competition.
All right, thank you for that, City Manager. Any members from the public would like to speak on this item?
I have no speakers, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Very well, we'll bring it back to the council for either further discussion or I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Move to approve.
Thank you, sir. I've got a first. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we've got a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to item F3.
The resolution before you is numbered 2021-159, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Hollister approving a temporary closure for the Red Ribbon Run to be held on October 23rd, 2021. And the Red Ribbon Run is just an annual celebration that goes from October 23rd through the 31st, and it's the nation's oldest and largest drug prevention awareness program. And it was started in 1985 by a community that had to kind of deal with the death of a DEA special agent, Enrique Kiki Camarena, and he was brutally tortured. And the city, along with San Benito County, we have collaborated on this run for, gosh, I've been with the city 20 years, so maybe around 25 years. Before COVID hit, we celebrated 30 years of this event, and we would like to continue. The City of Hollister's contribution is a 5K run. This year, we're going to add a 3K run, and we would like to include a 3K dog walkers run. So for all our dog lovers in our community. So we're just trying to change a few things up. San Benito County is responsible for the activities that will be held in the courtyard. It's a good collaboration, and we're also working with quite a bit of nonprofits in our community to show the drug awareness in our community.
Thank you, Ms. Garza.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions from the council at this time regarding this item?
I just have a comment. The Red Ribbon, it's been going on longer than I've been here, but not older than me. It's always been a really positive, such a positive environment when you go down there, and it's just, of course, I never ran it, but I will do the dog walk. Yeah, good job.
Yay, that's great.
All right. If there's no more questions, we'll go ahead and move to public comment. Are there any members of the public that would like to comment on this item?
I have no speakers, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, City Clerk. At this time, I will go ahead and entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. We've got a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Still
At this
here.
time, we'll go ahead and move to item F4. I'm assuming it's Ms. Garza again.
Yes. Resolution before you is 2021-160, and this is a resolution of the City Council of the City Hollister approving a temporary closure of McCarthy Street Park for the Hollister Concerts in the Park series to be held on September 9th, the 23rd, and the 30th. This authorizes temporary closures of McCarthy Street from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. Are there any questions?
Any questions from the council at this time?
Vice Mayor.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. What precautions will be taken, presuming we're still in some sort of a COVID challenge environment?
There was actually a discussion that we had our department head meeting today, and there are several different precautions that we're looking at. You know, if we're outside, outdoors, are masks required? Right now, it's not mandated, but you know, as we get closer to these events, we can review that. This weekend, I'm off topic a little bit, but on Friday we have our movies in the park, which we would like to move forward with. And do take precautions. We have portable hand sanitizers, masks, if they would like to go out there. And I think we've put on several events where we feel that the community has been safe. We sanitize, we provide hand sanitizer. When I mean sanitize is we're sanitizing equipment or anything that the children or adults are playing with. We're constantly sanitizing, and then we provide a hand sanitizer.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions from the council at this time? All right, at this time, we'll go ahead and open it to public comment. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak on this item?
I have no speakers, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, City Clerk. I'll bring it back to the council. And if I can, I meant to mention this on the last item, Ms. Garza.
Yes.
We've been working together for a while now, and you know I absolutely love these types of events, and you have been doing a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
Recently. So thank you for bringing this forward. I love to see more of this. I have faith that we're not only a community that cares about our residents' safety. Thank you, Councilmember Burns, for bringing that up. But we're also very flexible, and you guys have proven that. Our staff has proven to adapt quickly, safely, and adequately to meet the community's needs. So I have every faith that you're going to do that if that were to occur, and I fully support this. And again, thank you.
Thank you.
If there's no other comments, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion at this time.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. We've got a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Aye. Motion passes.
Ta-da. Just one more?
Item F5. Ms. Garza?
Yes, sir. Resolution number 2021-161 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Hollister approving a temporary closure for various streets along San Benito Street for a Hollister concert in the courtyard at the Veterans Memorial Building to be held on September 16th, 2021. Are there any questions?
Any questions from the council regarding this item?
None.
Okay, I do have one, Mr. City Manager. We voted to allow you to close the streets. Why are we having this discussion at the council level? Shouldn't it just not go through you, or am I misunderstanding that?
I mean, I can close it, but this is also a marketing ploy too. So it does help that, you know, it's a different, usually we're going to close streets on Saturdays or on the weekend, where this is during the week, but part of it is to advertise it also.
Thank you for that. If there's no more questions from the council, we'll open it to public comment.
I have no speakers, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, City Clerk. And I guess my last request would be, and you've been doing, again, a great job with this, is to send us the digital flyers so we can help advertise it for you guys as well.
Great.
If there's no more comments or questions, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we've got a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Vice Chair, real quick on this last item, because it didn't affect the vote. I just want to say that we are trying to do our best with COVID protocols. We'll watch the state. You know, this is a difficult time. We want to plan these things so people can be outside and not be cooped up. It's just, I think these are very positive items that will keep moving forward.
Thank you, City Manager, for that report. At this time, we're going to go ahead and move on to item F6.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Speaking of important things for our community, is the next item is for, it's actually a MOU with San Benito County Water District, Sunny Slope County Water District, the city, San Benito County, and City of San Juan Bautista to actually work on our the Hollister Urban Area Water and Wastewater Master Plan. We are updating our MOU, which happens about every 5 years. What we are working on right now is just the water portion of it, not the wastewater. So we're asking that the council adopt the MOU with these agencies, and then we'll bring back a request for a governance committee of two individuals to represent the city of Hollister.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions from the council at this time regarding this item? All right, I'm hearing none. We'll go ahead and open it to public comment.
I have no speakers, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, City Clerk. Any last comments from the council members at this time? All right,
None.
hearing none, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we're on a roll. I've got a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. And we're going to go ahead and move on to item F7 at this time.
Hi, good evening. Good evening, Mr. Vice Mayor and City Council. Renee Perales, CIP Manager, Administrative Services Department. Tonight before you is Resolution 2021-163, which will accept bids received, award a contract to the lowest responsive bidder, and authorize the mayor to execute a contract with McKim Corporation. It will also authorize the city manager to execute contract change orders not exceeding $93,000. On June 28th, 2021, CIP C2005, also known as the Road Rehabilitation Program 2021 project, was approved by the City Council, and staff was authorized to call for sealed bids. On July 28th, 6 bids were received. The lowest bid was received from McKim Corporation of Gilroy, California, in the amount of $625,282.83. The other 5 bids ranged from $652,000 to $768,000. Staff did find some minor mathematical errors on McKim's bid. There were a few line items that were just incorrectly extended. Their original bid amount was $623,509, and the total was actually the $625,282.83. However, their bid still remained the low bid. Staff is requesting City Council accept the bids, award the contract to the lowest bidder, and authorize the mayor to execute the contract with McKim Corporation, and authorize the city manager to execute contract change orders. Did you have any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Perales. Does the council have any questions at this time? All right, I'm hearing none. We're going to go ahead and open it to public input.
I have no speakers, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, City Clerk. All right, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion if there's no more questions or comments from the council.
So moved.
We got a first. Do we have a
Second.
second? Thank you. We've got a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, we're going to go ahead and move on to item F8.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I have received a request, an application for a flag display for LGBTQ Resource Center. I know that this is on behalf of you, Mr. Vice Mayor, and the request is for June 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2022.
Very good.
Do you
Are
have
there any
questions?
questions from the council at this time?
I have one question. Do we
Go
have
ahead,
a picture
sir.
of the flag? Was it on there? Because I don't remember seeing a picture of the flag.
I do not have a picture of the flag.
So isn't that,
However, I would probably say that it would be the exact same one that we flew this year.
Yeah, it's the same one we approved to fly this past year.
So-
Exactly.
just to be clear, it's like, I would vote yes for this, but there is a thing about the process, and every other flag that has been presented, it's part of the process, if I'm not, if I'm right, there needs to be a picture of the flag. If we get a picture of the flag, done. I'm for the process, but I totally support it.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other questions at this time from the council? All right, hearing none, we'll go ahead and open it to public comment. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak on this item at this time?
Yes, Mr. Vice Mayor?
Okay, go ahead.
Tony Avia?
Yes, I could do the 2-in-1 once we go through the thin blue line.
We got to do them one at a time. So if you want to go ahead and come to the podium and speak on this one, please.
Sure. Thank you.
Mhm.
Good evening, Council.
Thank you.
Good evening.
My name is Tony Avila, and my comment was for the kind of on the same, wondering why the other applicants for flags are going through what I consider a discriminatory type action on the applications that we turn in on a timely manner. And where I seen that the LGBT or pride flag did not go through the same process, and then all of a sudden we get the application. I'd like to know where that came from. And furthermore, with that being said, we have turned in, like I said, I'll be commenting on the thin blue line flag. So
That'll be the next item, sir. If you
Yes,
can comment
sir.
on this item for now.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Oh, you said I can comment on it now or wait?
So you can comment in regards to the LGBTQ plus pride flag raising now, and then the next item you can comment on the blue line flag.
Okay. So that's pretty much what I had to say was how the application process went through for the pride flag, and which difference in the process of the other flags that we're requesting.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
City Clerk, are there any other members from the public that would like to speak on this item?
I have no more speakers, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Very well. We'll bring it back to the council for last questions or comments at this time.
So because the application is incomplete, can we bring it back for the next meeting? Or what can we do on that?
You can make that motion if you'd like, sir, but let's hear from all the council members before we move. Thank you. Any other questions or comments regarding this item?
Vice Mayor.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. So, Mr. Epperson, if we follow suit, as we've done earlier today, to approve something or to deny it requires a unanimous vote in either case?
That's right. Councilmember Burns, it would require 3 votes,
Okay.
which tonight is unanimous.
So, I guess I'll just let this play out, but that's what I needed. I'd like to make a recommendation that it be continued to the next meeting, just simply based on Councilmember Perez's comment that he couldn't approve it because there wasn't a flag. I support it 100%.
No, it's because it wasn't,
So there's a
complete.
there's a
Second.
first, and we're asking to table it to a date certain. Is that your motion?
Yes,
All right, so we've got a first on the table. Do we have a second?
second.
Very well, thank you. So we've got a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm opposed.
Which leads to my next question, because we didn't go unanimous there either.
Motion fails.
The motion fails, so so it is not automatically tabled to a date certain. There can be another motion that's made, and if that passes, that's the motion that passes. If there's nothing else made, then it would effectively come back at the next council meeting regardless, because
So-
no action would be taken on it.
So we can either make another motion, or it's going to get tabled either way regardless.
That's correct, unless a
So-
motion is passed successfully.
But if we make a motion, then it'll be on next.
Well, you need to change your motion. So for example, somebody can make a motion to approve the item pending that the picture is submitted to the city clerk. Like that could be a motion and it's different. Is that correct, City Attorney?
That would work.
And then we can vote on that motion. So if somebody's willing to make a motion in regards to that, that might work.
Well, I'd like to stick to the application process and follow it through. And if the picture is part of that, and so that's just wanted to make sure.
Very well. Anyone else like to entertain a motion or would like to make a motion at this time from the council?
Sure, I'm happy to make a motion that it's approved pending the attachment of a photograph that would then make the application deemed complete.
Thank you, sir. So we've got a motion on the table. Would somebody like to second that?
I'll wait till it's approved, till it's completed.
So we've got a first. I will go ahead and second that. Let's call for a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Perez?
No.
Councilmember Burns?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Resendez?
Yes. Motion
The
fails.
motion fails.
Thank you. At this time, if there's no more motions, we'll go ahead and move on to item F6. City Clerk?
F9.
F9. My apologies.
Thank you. I've received an application for, from the concerned citizens through Councilmember Perez to fly the thin blue line flag to honor law enforcement officers October 1st, 2021 to October 31st, 2021. This item was tabled as that month is usually, usually for breast cancer awareness. I did contact the applicants, asked if they would be willing to move their date, and they stated that they would like to keep their date of October 1st to October 31st, 2021. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments from the council at this time?
Go ahead.
Vice Mayor.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. As I've explained in the past, this really puts me in a difficult situation as a retired law enforcement officer myself. However, I am not going to support this moving forward this evening. I would absolutely support it if they wanted to do it in the months of January, May, or August, which are more law enforcement relevant and appropriate in my opinion. And I would support it if this council can move forward to amend the existing ordinance through a text amendment to allow for multiple flags to be flown on the community flagpole. I have no reservation about doing it, but I do believe it's more appropriate for breast cancer awareness to be the flag of that month if we're going to take an entire month. And I'll leave my comments at that for now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions or comments from the council at this time?
Yeah, so,
Go ahead, sir.
so to address your comment about the, adding some more clips on there, onto the rope, that's not a problem. But again, I'm about the process. So it's, you know what, we get the flag, we get the picture of the LGBTQ, it's up. This one, they've checked all the boxes. It's to honor, from my understanding, it's to honor and support our police officers, past, present, and future. Yes, next year is May, is I think the 16th, is to honor the fallen officers. From my understanding, they're going to be doing that one also. But the anything to support our police officers and show them that we support them is great. The problem with the breast cancer awareness flag going up, there's not even an application in, is there? And do we have 60 days to get there? You know what? So there's basically, we're telling them no flag for our police officers because why? Because we would rather have them put it in January, sometime next year, May. I don't understand why we just can't support them now. So Breast Cancer Awareness Month, you know what? If we need to start paperwork now or actually you can't do it until a year before and 60 days minimum. So I don't see how we could not approve this. That's it.
Just a quick reminder to members of the public, please, if you're in the City Hall chambers, put your mask over your mouth and nose. Thank you so much. Are there any other questions or comments from the council at this time?
Vice Mayor.
Go ahead, sir.
So for the city attorney, just because the application is deemed complete doesn't require that the council approve it, correct? I mean, council still retains its discretion, correct?
That's correct, Councilmember Burns. The council has discretion.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I do have some comments, but I'll reserve my comments till after public comment. So if we can open up to public comment at this time.
Tony Epia?
Good evening again. Yes, through the thin blue line, we did follow the process as per protocol through the instructions to fly the flag. Yes, I understand that the flag should be flown in the month of May, but we did not have the opportunity to do so because the full was not available. So that we went through the process, did exactly as the mandate requests that you set forth to follow. And I understand if the council knew that the breast cancer flag should have put in the application in a timely manner as we did. I'm not giving discredit to the breast cancer because it's very important. But the process also is important that we follow. And we also still are waiting for answers for the Christian flag that we have put in a timely manner at the same, and I'm requesting that we do get some sort of resolution on that as well. So with, I mean, initially, the first meeting was first come, first serve. So we're following the protocol that you set forward. First call, first come, first serve. And it was going to be timestamped, which the clerk office timestamps with a signature. And if your process was in prior, then I'd be happy to share the poll, or I can move my date. But as it stands, nothing has been submitted. So if we allow people to do the process without filling out the proper paperwork, then we may as well not have a unity poll. We may as well not be willing to fly any flag but the United States flag. So again, I'm sorry if I offend anyone with the breast cancer. I'm sympathetic to all victims and people going through the process of their chemo, but we still have to stick to our process without wavering. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please.
Sandy Patterson Jamrock.
Good evening, council members. My name is Sandy Patterson Jamark, and I've been in this community all my life. I started with Hollister PD when I was 14 years old. I was a police cadet by the time I was 18, and I was a deputy sheriff coroner by the time I was 26 in this county. And it is appalling to me that the thin blue line flag is up for discussion like this when they've gone through all the procedures. You've made them jump through all the hoops, and for somebody to sit there who's retired law enforcement to say, we're not going to let it fly because it should fly in May, it's pretty disgusting to me. It offends me because I've been in law enforcement for a long time. I was the first female hired in San Benito County history as a deputy sheriff coroner, and I've gone up against a lot of people. They've done the process, fly the flag. No disrespect to the breast cancer awareness. I'm a female. I know where it come from. I've had family members that have had breast cancer. You fly the flag. They went through the process, do the job. Just don't say, well, it's not the right month, we're not going to fly it. That's ridiculous. You fly the flag, they've done the process. It doesn't matter much what month it is. You do your jobs as council members. There's a process, they fit the process, fly the flag. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Stephanie Castro.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Castro, and I wanted to comment on this as well as the previous
Ms. Castro,
resolution.
we've already
However,
passed the previous one. We can just thank
well,
you.
however, I was on Zoom, or I was on the video, and I was unable to comment via the Zoom link. So can you please tell me what the code is and what that link is? Because the one that you have on your agenda is not.
Well, we'll allow
Is
you your
not.
3 minutes to speak on this item, and then we can answer your question
I
about
would
the
like
Zoom.
to know what the Zoom link is, so I could speak from Zoom.
Sure. Let's get your public comment because the time is clicking, and then we will answer your question about Zoom after.
So public participation is via Zoom, and this is a broken link. It just takes you to the website. So I wanted to comment from Zoom, and I wasn't able to, so that's why I drove all the way over here so that I could publicly comment. So can you please tell me what the code is, so that way when I go home, I can publicly comment on the next item?
As
a
I stated
link-
before, we'll provide it to you after your comment, ma'am. The clock is
after
ticking.
my comment?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, thanks.
So you, I'm not sure why you're getting preferential treatment. I mean, I know you're a board member, and I know you're submitting all of these things, but you should not be getting preferential treatment. Everybody is following the same process for the thin blue line, for all the flag flying, and why are you getting preferential treatment over others? There was some that were submitted before that. What happened with that? We haven't even heard. So you should not be taking preferential treatment. I mean, it kind of feels like a conflict of interest. I mean, you are representing the city, you're representing the people, but when you get preferential treatment, that kind of makes all the other groups look like they're not important, and that your cause and your flag flying and everything is more important than everyone else's. Just because you're on the council doesn't mean that you should be given these special privileges. And the application needs to be followed exactly how you guys determined it. You know, if there was supposed to be a picture submitted, there should be a picture submitted. If there's no picture submitted, it shouldn't be approved. So that you have to follow your own procedures. And everybody else put theirs in ahead of time. Where's their approval? How come they haven't been approved before yours is being approved? That's not fair. Okay, the thin blue line deserves to be approved. That was put in before yours. It should be approved. And you shouldn't be given special treatment. You shouldn't think you should even deserve it.
Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker, please.
I need the code, please, for the Zoom.
Ma'am, we're going to continue with public comment, and we'll provide you with the code.
Kevin Henderson?
Mr. Henderson, go ahead, sir.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can. Go
Please
ahead.
Oh, great, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to comment. I just want to start by saying my wife is a breast cancer survivor. So, I mean, I think it'd be wonderful to fly the flag during a month that's appropriate for that. With that being said, it kind of seems like this process is broken. I don't know if, I'm not sure how to suggest to fix it, but it seems like it's, you know, people are getting upset, or I don't know. I'm just saying that we might want to think about revising the process somehow. Also, I want to say that, you know, whatever the process is, I think at the end of the day, the city council, you're there to make a judgment call on what's good to do, or what's good to have for a flag or not. So I support, you know, that you need to make that judgment call. I mean, I've heard, you know, that there's a group of pirate lovers who want to have a flag during a certain month, and I mean, I think that's just kind of a joke. But obviously, if you received an application like that, you would use your best judgment to, you know, not approve something like that. And that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please.
I have no more speakers, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you. At this time, we'll bring it back to the council for further discussion, questions, or comments.
Vice Mayor.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. So back to the city attorney and maybe city manager. With regard to the existing ordinance, they have to submit it 60 days in advance of flying a flag. Is that correct?
If I recall correctly, it's no more than 1 year prior to flying it and no less than 60 days. However, Councilmember Burns, I don't have that in front of me, but that's my recollection.
Okay. So again, I would like to see, as the last speaker suggested, the ordinance, I don't know that it's flawed as much as it's a work in progress, and it's brand new. It's less than 6 months old. And I would call these kind of the growing pains. And I don't know, I'm not even sure what the rationale was for 60 days in advance, but I would like to maybe suggest with council support that we rewrite this thing, and how do we get the yes for everybody? Because I agree. I will not support flying a pirate flag at any cost, nor would I the Confederate flag. And so, and there are several others as well. But clearly I've expressed that I'm more than supportive of flying the Christian flag. And I think we're going to have to be flexible in this as we learn on the go. And clearly, well, I would like to see the breast cancer awareness flag fly in the month of October, and I can guarantee you I'll take care of that personally for next year. But I'm not convinced that there isn't a way to get to yes in most instances, and I think the ordinance may be a little too limiting. And so I do like having the discretion as a council member to weigh each individual item, and I am torn in this case, but if we can't fly the breast cancer awareness flag because it's 60 days or less, well, then I guess I will support the thin blue line flag, but it's with reservation, and I would prefer to get the yes on more than one. The other question that comes up is we know our Arts and Culture Commission has been tasked with flying or creating a City of Hollister flag, and when that happens, I presume that flag will fly from the third pole. And the next question that falls in line with me is, so does that come down to put up whatever flag, or does that stay at the top and do these flags fly below? I mean, the flagpole certainly has the ability to probably fly 3 or 4 flags at any given time. And so I think we need to be flexible, but I do believe that these are learning curves that we're experiencing. And so having said that, I guess that'll conclude my comments. I would like to see us move forward on this, though, soon, so that we don't continue to draw unnecessary controversy and have ill will and bad feelings. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the council at this time? Go ahead, sir.
The question I had, don't tell me, I'll remember. I think when we're looking at that ordinance again, it's like, I think if you're, like you were saying, to have the city flag on the third pole, you know, I don't know if it's flag etiquette to be able to move that one, because the other thing we need to look at, now I remember, thanks for reminding me, is how many flags are we gonna do? I mean, at what point? Remember, I was saying in the beginning, we should not limit it to a week. I think it should be that we need to go through the ordinance, because if we're going to get 10 flags in a month, let's put 10 flags. And if we only have 2 hooks, that means we split that up between the 10 flags. You know, but it's an issue we need to address. I don't like seeing our ordinances being mocked, so to speak, on social media. But I am for following the process. You know, if we need to make it more fine-toothed, if we need to go through it to make it more complete, then that's something we need to do. But yeah, I think that we need to move forward on this too.
Thank you, sir. And then I'll go ahead and give my comments if I can. So, if memory serves me correct, I didn't support the flag policy at all. I do think that this policy in particular is somewhat flawed. There's no preferential treatment here. There's been 3 flags submitted, and all 3 have not been approved by the council. I love San Juan Bautista. They are small, but they are mighty and they are fierce. They do things right. I think that they are leaders within our county, and they decided to not have a flag policy. We were elected, and there's a diverse group of people here to represent the constituents' needs and their interests. I don't think we need a flag policy to prove that. Any one of us can bring a flag to be considered to hang from that unity pole at any time. That is not a unity pole. This has been politicized, and it's causing division. And as a council that was here with the previous council, I can tell you, and I've mentioned this before, this is something we don't want to do. This is a road we don't want to go down. My advice would be to scrap it. Scrap it. And I'd like to consider that at a further date. There's no reason for it. If anybody wants to bring a breast cancer awareness, a blue line, a Christian, whatever, bring it to the council. Let's have it considered. Because that's the job that we were elected to do. And this, I can tell you from experience, as divided as the council was in the past, this was never an issue. We agreed 100% on any flags that were presented during that last council. So I'm torn too. There's good points, right? But this is what happens when we over try to do something. I think we need to take a step back, do it the right way. Let's scrap it all together. And anybody can present any flag that they would like to have flown from our so-called unity poll that no flags have been flagged from, none have been approved. And that's, in my opinion, causing a little bit of division and mockery within our community. Thank you. And at this time, I will entertain a motion.
Quick comment, just real quick.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
So, you know what, as a resident of city of Hollister, it's like, I seen what it was like in the last council, and you know what? And I truly believe that all of us here, and the ones to come, and the one that's having a great anniversary, the only thing that can divide us is ourselves. So, you know what, with that, I like that we're able to come to the table and we can all talk about it. And actually, let's be equitable to everybody and all that represents our community. And at the same time, let's not make a mockery of some of our, like I've seen some of the things going around. It's like this is to represent our community, you know, and that's what it's about, truly respecting each other for all of our differences and being okay with it. So yeah, I totally agree with you.
As it should be. I agree with you as well, sir. Any other questions or comments at this time from the council? I'm sorry, sir, we closed public comment.
Well, I would like to make one.
At this time, I will go ahead and entertain a motion. I'm not.
Motion.
What is your motion, sir?
I make a motion to pass, what is it?
Before you make your motion, it seems like there's not going to be a consensus.
Okay.
So I would say maybe consider, if I can, city attorney, to table this item as well to the next council meeting. That way we can decide at that time. What do you think, sir?
Mr. Vice Mayor, of course, I'm not speculating as to how any of you will vote, but that is one of the options. You could make a motion to adopt it. If that doesn't pass, then someone else can make another motion, or if that doesn't happen, it's a non-action and it's continued to the next meeting. If you make a motion to reject it and that doesn't pass, then it's a non-action, it's continued to the next meeting. Or you could make a motion to simply continue it to date certain of the next meeting. Or one of those motions could pass.
Perfect, thank you. So I'll call for a motion again at this time.
So I guess either way, it's going to be pushed forward. So I make a motion to table item number 2021-165 until whenever?
September 7th?
Till September 7th.
Very well, there's a motion on the table. Can we get a second, please?
Second.
Very good, we've got a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? There's none. Motion is going to be tabled. Thank you. All right, folks, we are going to move on to item F10.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor and council. This is, the city clerk needs to, we used to go out to bid for our public notices. However, we only have one sole source, and that is New SV Media. New SV Media has presented their contract. Their price has increased 40 cents. Last year was the first time, besides this year, that they've ever increased their prices. They held firm for probably 6 years. In addition to the 40-cent increase, which is per line of printing of surface occupied, There's also going to be a difference in the column, which was 1.53 inches, will now be 1 3/8 inches in width. The font size shall now be 7.0 with an 8.0 leading with a 6 lines per inch column inch, which is slightly smaller than the prior contract. If you have any other questions, please let me know.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the council at this time?
Vice Mayor.
Go ahead, sir.
City Clerk, do the changes meet the requirements?
Yes, they do.
Thank you. That's my only question.
Any other questions at this time?
I don't know if I'm understanding this, but it's like basically we're getting a little bit smaller. Is it getting like the packages at the store, same price, a little increase in smaller packaging?
It
Okay.
is the only adjudicated newspaper, so we really have no other choices. And,
Okay.
and they really have been pretty good on holding firm with their pricing for
Okay.
many, many years for us.
Oh, awesome.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, if there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and open it to public input.
I have no speakers, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, City Clerk. I'll bring it back to the council for further discussion, or I'll entertain a motion at this time.
So moved.
Thank you, sir. We've got a
Second.
first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to item G1, reports from the City Council, officers, boards, and committees. We'll start with Councilmember Burns. Do you have anything to report?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Yes, I attended the Water Resource Association of San Benito County Committee meeting on August 5th, 2021. They advised that in the previous few months of their work that they'd actually performed, they'd issued 4 rebates. They gave away 7 low-flow toilet replacements, and they issued 15 sets of drought-resistant landscaping plans. I thought that was an amazing resource for our community, considering we're clearly in a drought to some magnitude and probably will be for the foreseeable future. And I would encourage any residents that receive their service to consider reaching out to them to see if they have programs that would help them with their water use and retention. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Burns. Councilmember Perez, anything to report on the committees that you serve on?
Yeah, I met with the AMBAG, but nothing really to report. That's it.
Thank you, sir. And then I'd just like to report that I attended the previous intergovernmental meeting. I don't recall the date. I think it was last week. At the meeting, we talked about the landfill. There's a lot of debate going on about the landfill, and I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot more about it and what exactly is going on there. So the other thing we talked about was homelessness. So we've talked about this at the intergovernmental meeting before, and where we are now is that essentially the county is looking for a more sustainable location because there's some pushback from the business owners from the last location. I think that the previous location before that there was also some pushback, but they are exploring the options. And I think one of them was to either expand the current area or the occupancy of the current area, which I fully support if it were to come to that. The other thing is we're wondering what can we do now? So we've got some data from them, some statistics. The shelter's not filled. It has not been filled. So the rationale for not clearing out the creek was because there's nowhere to put them. So if we don't have anywhere to offer them their stay, legally we can't clear the creek. But that's not true because there is somewhere for them to go. It hasn't been filled. They don't want to go there. So what the county, I think what we all agreed on at that meeting, and I'm hoping that we'll hear this at the council level soon so we can support our friends at the county and the city of San Juan Bautista, is to help them with resources to make it safe and healthy out there, because there has been a number of fires, a number of concerns. So we need to probably look at getting a contractor to help clear out the creek bed. And if and when our shelter gets filled, well, we're working on that as well. But it has not been a problem. And I think the majority of the intergovernmental committee did support that idea. So that concludes my report. And we will move on to item G2, informational reports from the City Council. Councilmember Burns, anything to report?
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor.
Go ahead, sir.
Not to disappoint Councilmember Perez, I do have a short but succinct laundry list of items. So, thank you. So my first request would be that the city manager have all city department heads attend all city council meetings as a resource to council. It would probably provide quicker responses and more direct contacts to ensure better, higher level of service. I would like, as number 2, I would like for the city to work on a timely landscape maintenance plan for all sound walls, including the Caltrans areas on Airline Highway. I don't know, when you see something, the more you see it, the more it becomes obvious to you. For example, the weeds are currently about 6 feet tall at the intersection of Hillcrest and Memorial. The weeds are taller than the plants, and it's embarrassing, and that's not even my district. And so I know there's a cost, but we need to get going on this. I mean, it's embarrassing on the gateways to our community that we can't maintain them, and I'm embarrassed, and I would like to see something happen there. I'd also like to thank the chief and the city manager. On July 28th, I received an email from a Mr. Kenneth Dunn expressing his frustration about the lack of a enforceable noise ordinance. Chief, thank you for reaching out to Mr. Dunn and providing him with a response. I thought it was not only thoughtful, but it was thorough. And I know that the city manager was involved in that conversation, and there was a discussion on maybe doing some work to bring forward a more appropriate, more enforceable a noise ordinance that the chief had done some preliminary research on. And so I would really like to see that work move forward in a timely event. I've been reached out to by a couple of constituents who've expressed similar complaints, although not necessarily as serious, I'd say, as Mr. Dunn's complaint. And so, again, I think that this reinforces when people in our community reach out to council members, they do get a response. It's not always what they're asking or wanting, but I do believe this council is responsive to the community needs, as is city staff. And so thank you, Chief. Thank you, City Manager. I appreciate that. While I'm on my list of things to do, I would like to request that at some point we bring back the cannabis ordinance for amendment, maybe a study session and future amendment. I would absolutely like to see the city council replaced with an independent hearing officer that's an attorney with at least 5 years of experience when it comes to appeals on cannabis-related things. I think they would be the subject matter experts and the neutral party, and I think it would be a better process. And there may be other things in the ordinance to address as well. So moving on, I would like for this council to consider creating an ad hoc committee comprised of 2 council members, the city manager and the city attorney and city clerk, to look at the possibility of changing from a general law city to a charter city. And I'd like for it to also review the possibility of term limits for elected officials moving forward. And I think that we need to move forward on this relatively quickly, because at our next regularly scheduled election, I'd like to have something for consideration to be put on the ballot. I would also like to express that if we do create an ad hoc committee to look at creating a police communication center, I would like to be part of that, simply if for no other reason that I'm the city council police department liaison, and I think it would be appropriate. City attorney, I'd like to know where we stand on the letter that was sent to the state attorney general regarding raising the Christian flag. And I'd also like to receive a copy of what was written and sent to them, if it's allowable. And then my final comment on my laundry list, Mr. Perez, will be, I did hear former council member Lenore address council in public comment a few sessions back, where she expressed concern about the lights downtown and the need for maintenance of those. And I'd like to see that done. And I'd also like to see exploring the possibility to take them down some of the side streets off of San Benito Street as well, because sometimes I think those people are forgotten about, and I think there's an opportunity to really take what is now becoming our diamond of a downtown and really polish it to make it really shine And I think my request is timely because Christmas will be here before we know it. And anything we can do, and maybe we engage HDA to get involved in that further as well. So with that, Vice Mayor, that concludes my requests and comments. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Perez.
Good thing that was a short list. And actually, you know what, I don't know if I can comment back, but HDA is working on the lights, from my understanding, especially extending them around. But I just have a really short list.
Staff appreciates it.
And actually, mine's, I guess what my comments more are towards the city of Hollister. I know that Bark Park, it was a home run. No, it wasn't a home run. It was a grand slam. 9th inning, just awesome. It's really great. But I'd really like to reach out or to speak out to the residents. Please pick up after your dogs. I mean, it's not the funnest thing to do, but it's not cool when other dogs or other residents get to pick up your dog's stuff, or their dogs step on your dog's stuff, and it's not sanitary. So I'm just asking that everyone pick up after the dogs, not just at the Bark Park, on the streets. I walk down Monterey, and it's like someone's dragging their dog while they're going to the bathroom, and it's like, I don't know. Please, let's be considerate and kind to all of our other neighbors. The other thing to reach out to the community is, I don't know, the lakes are low, and but I still got my jet skiing lakes still. Don't worry about it. But you know what? We are in a drought, and our water tables are pretty full, from my understanding. But I just wanted to ask everyone to please conserve your water as much as possible. I know there's nothing mandated or any strict policies in place, but I think if we all just keep it in mind to not waste water. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So I'll go ahead and report that today, I think, I know it was the very first day for the children at Hollister School District and the teachers to be back on campus. I think last week was the high school. And I just want to remind the public that just after, given what happened last year, that this is relatively new for the people who work in education. So just be patient and be flexible with them. I think that we proved that we can partner with families and educators, and that we can get through essentially anything. Again, just like I mentioned with the city staff, that we're very flexible and that we do prioritize the safety of our community. So I just want to remind everybody to be patient and to continue to be safe and to have a fantastic school year. We're excited to see everybody back in school, and just be patient and thoughtful when we're going through that. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up, and I really struggled with this, I think that the council did a really good job with asking the public to elect the next member of the city council for District 3. I want to go on record by saying that this council, in my honest opinion, has gotten more done in the short time that we've been working together. We might not always agree, we passionately disagree sometimes, but we work together. And they have proven that. We've done more than the council that did previously up here. I just want to go on the record of saying that. And I have to say that when the new council came on board, we set a tone of ethics, rules, and respect. And I, for one, do not want to revisit what I went through in my first 2 years in office. I'll be honest. I did not want to bring this up. I struggled, but I am concerned about some of the language that I am seeing and some of the attacks that I'm seeing from people running for office. If we're going to hold ourselves to a certain standard and code of ethics in our new Muni Code, then we need to do that with everybody that is running for office as well. If we're going to sit up here with somebody, then it should apply in every aspect to the people that want to ask the public to elect them in office. There's no accountability. We cannot hold them to that standard, especially if they choose not to sign the, Christine, help me out, what is it?
Code of Fair Campaign Practices.
Code of Fair Campaign Practices. So we don't want to go back there. And I would like for the council, again, in a pressing time manner, to consider adopting the policy to include the candidates running for office. That concludes my report. Thank you. All right, folks, at this time, we're going to move on to item G3.
I'll make mine short.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Councilmember Burns. Mr. City Manager, do you have anything to report?
Yeah, real quick, kind of a save the date. Recreation and myself are looking at August 28th as the next street closure for downtown. Like I said in the last council meeting, our last closure was a hit with the families downtown, and we want to try to bring that back. So we are working on, like I say, August 28th as our next closure. But you'll see a flyer soon, and we'll get that out to you also to help promote that downtown activity.
Very much looking forward to it. Thank you, sir. Mr. City Attorney, anything to report?
Thank you. No statement.
Thank you. Ms. City Clerk?
I have nothing to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Reynoso?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to share with the council that on August 6th, we had a law enforcement appreciation dinner. Myself and my lieutenants put on a dinner for our officers, and it was a great turnout. We had over 80 people with officers and their families, and we take the opportunity to award the Officer of the Year and Professional Staff Member of the Year and Supervisor of the Year. These are awards that are given, our nominations from within the department, and our officers select those individuals. And this year we had our Officer of the Year was Officer Dong Tong, and the Professional Staff Member of the Year, CSO Patrick Kennedy, and Supervisor of the Year, James Weathers. They all received a lot of votes from their department for their excellence in work and in their different departments. And I just wanted to share that with the council. And earlier today we had 2 new members for our animal control were sworn in by our city clerk, Christine Black. Alvaro Covarrubias is an assistant animal control officer, and Elijah Harvey Jr. is our newest animal control officer. He comes from previous experience as an animal control officer in the city of Clovis. We're really excited to have them on board, really great people, and it was a good day that we could add to our staff. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, at this time, we'll move on to item G3.
Thank you, Mayor. So, as you said, with the previous councils, one of the council members at that time asked for us to have 3 meetings a month, and we noticed when we started doing 3 meetings a month, staff, all we did was doing agenda items and not getting anything done around the city. So we went back down to the regular 2 meetings. With our recent month of recess during the July, we noticed that we were getting a lot more done with staff, not having the meetings and then preparing for our first meeting in August. So it came up to the idea of, we kind of looked around and saw what other cities were doing, and one of the ideas that we thought and we would want to float with the council is proposing that we would only have change our ordinance to only have 1 meeting a month for a regular meeting. That doesn't preclude us from having special meetings, and what we would almost be recommending is that we keep the 3rd Monday open, but it would be for special meetings, so that which would be more concise and probably more efficient, like we've done some of our past special meetings. So the only drawback that we found really was that it might take a little bit longer for ordinances to pass, but we feel that we could make our time more efficient and actually allow staff to get more things done throughout the city. Open to questions.
Any questions at this time?
Vice Mayor, please.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. City manager, were you considering keeping the meetings as they are now, not necessarily on a Monday or at 6 o'clock or at whatever time the start time is? I've worked in other jurisdictions where council meetings, they can be started at any hour of the day. And my number one concern would be, part of the reason we serve our communities as an elected official is to represent our residents in our community, and it would restrict their availability to us. And I also think that once a month meeting would probably mean more like an 8 to 10 hour meeting that would probably need to start at 9 in the morning. And so I have some real concerns. I'm open to further conversation, but I can't support this as it's proposed. I think that I think two is a necessary amount of meetings at a minimum.
Sure.
And we've not even bridged the gap of the development conversation that we talked about when we implemented the ethics ordinance, where part of that was that we wouldn't talk to developers and people outside of our district. And the counter to that was we were going to schedule meetings where they could come and present their projects. So I appreciate the open-mindedness and the creativeness of it, but I haven't heard anything that would encourage me or allow me to support this as proposed. Thank
Okay.
you.
Real quick, probably kind of two parts. I'll do the development first. We haven't had anybody to bring forward a development to discuss currently, but when somebody does, we'll bring that forward. And or if it's a one-off, we would just probably have it as a regular meeting, or like I say, the special meetings that we have been having. Like I say, we were dark in July, and we had a meeting, our first meeting in August. We started that regular meeting at 7, which is half an hour late because of closed session. But that one ended at 11:30, which I will tell you, when the previous council meetings, that was an early meeting. We usually were going till 11:30 to 2 o'clock in the morning. So kind of seeing that felt like if we could be on a more on schedule after, or more, make sure maybe the closed sessions finish at the right time, that if we started at 6:30, that we should be able to finish by 10:30. We could always change the start time. That's not an issue. I believe it's 6:30 so that people have time to get off work and then be able to have enough time to get here, but we would be open to that time. We're just.
May I add a little to that?
Sure.
Go ahead.
In the survey that I did, I received responses from 10 cities. One of I'll read to you some of the pros that they had. Allows for staff to catch up, allows them to take vacation, nice to get other things done, to do follow-up on assigned tasks, great for scheduling, more free to work on assigned tasks, provide staff time to work on the assigned tasks, time management, organize, reduce consultant and staff time. Staff is able to work on projects, which results in a positive impact on the community. The cons were that the timing, planning for an item would have to really be thought about. It would increase the length of the meeting. Meetings would run long. There were lots of items that special meetings needed to be scheduled as needed. Timing of items that are sensitive, noticing requirements, time frame limitations, and the scheduling of special meetings.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the council at this time?
No, all my questions were asked and answered.
Thank you, sir. City Clerk, do I need to open this to public comment? Reports? Yeah? Okay. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak on this item?
I have no speakers, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you. I would like to say some things just from my own personal experience. It's 9:10 right now. I lived through this. I lived through it when it was 3 meetings, and I don't remember if I supported it. I think I wanted to go ahead and try it. I think I might have supported it. But it was a disaster, and we quickly revisited that, and we all accepted that, and we changed it for a number of reasons. I'm hearing that there's some drawbacks, and I just took a couple of notes really quick. So the drawbacks is that that we can't get things approved in a timely manner. We can always do a special meeting. The other thing that I'm hearing is, well, I'll be honest, those meetings went really, really long, but I think that we've proven not to drag things out or talk or debate as much as those meetings. I guess that's the best way to put it. So that was mostly part of the problem, is that people would just keep talking and talking, and it would drag it out. So that was a huge problem. And the more meetings we had, the more people wanted to talk. And I'm speaking of the council members, not the public. I think that we can always go back. We've did it in the past. We tried it in the past. We can give it a shot. I'm open to it. This council, in my opinion, I've said it before. I'll say it again now that I'm getting more comfortable being up here. We've proven to move mountains. We have done, in my opinion, we have made monumental changes up here that have not been done in the city of Hollister. Why not give this a shot, in my opinion, and just try it? I think that 4 p.m. is a reasonable time to start the meetings, and I would suggest that we're open to it and that we would try it. So that would be my position, and if it doesn't work, we can always go back. Those are my thoughts. Any other questions or comments from the council at this time? Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, my question is, it's one, are we meeting the needs of the community? Two, the time limits, yeah, we can do special meetings. It'd be great. I could actually go to the lake more. But, I don't know. I'm thinking maybe try it. And I mean, what would be a consensus to try it? Or I mean, is there a consensus to try it for?
That's a good question. Councilmember Burns?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Again, I can't support it because I think that we need to provide more than one opportunity a month for our constituents to show up and express their opinions, their concerns, and their needs. And I don't believe we could just try it. I think that it would require a text amendment to the municipal code, because the municipal code requires the meetings at the date and the times that they're scheduled. And so I'd like to think I'm open to it, but the reality is I think just because I want to represent the people that chose to elect me or my district, that I can't support this. But thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Burns. So then I would turn to the city attorney. At this time, it seems like there's two that are willing to, quote unquote, try it. Do we have consensus if there's only, if there's 3 people and 2?
So, actually, I have more questions too. So,
Well, go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
No worries. I mean, starting at 4 o'clock, it's like, that's 2 hours. That's, how many meetings do we get out of here? It's 10, I mean, right now it's 9:15 and this was kind of a light one. And it's like, so I don't know if I would actually support it, but it's like, how hard is it? I'd like to ask Christine. So, I mean, how difficult is it? I mean, because it would be easier for you guys to get one agenda done for the whole month instead of spreading it out to twice.
Honestly, it's not just me, it's staff that's doing the staff reports. I'm just gathering that information, putting it in one spot, trying to clean it up as best I can, and then present it to you guys. So who it frees up is that the staff that are presenting the staff reports, the resolutions to you, they're the ones that have more time to work on that and maybe make a better presentation, is what I'm getting from the other cities that I've talked to. Because they have only one meeting a month, they're able to do a better presentation to council because they're not constantly in
rush mode.
Staff report mode. They're able to actually get things completed and maybe even be more complete and perhaps even do more research on those staff reports.
And then, you know, I can totally support to giving them some more time to get their jobs done and everything. At the same time, it's like, we are here elected by the city. I'd like to see more city engagement from the residents in a healthy aspect. So I'm really torn on this one too. Tonight, I'm really like, a lot of, yeah.
Understandably. I do have a couple questions.
Oh, I had a suggestion, but I'll wait till your question is over.
So first of all, how did we do it before when we changed it? Did we change the municipal code? I would assume that we did, right?
When we went to 3,
Yeah.
I believe we did a resolution, a policy to
I can answer that.
add
So
a
what-
special meeting.
So what we did, that one was easy. The third meeting was a special meeting, so we could add to it. So that's kind of what I'm suggesting. If you, as Councilmember Burns said, if we want to go to 1, we would have to change it by ordinance, or to change our municipal code. What we could do, if you wanted to try it, we wouldn't be able to change it our time. We'd have to stay at 6:30, but you could have the
Cancel.
regular first meeting and as a council, cancel the second meeting, and then we would just, we would either bring it back or do a special meeting for the additional meetings.
Okay. Go ahead, sir. I think we called for public comment, but I do have a question for the staff, and I hate to put you guys on blast, or if you don't want to come up here, you don't have to, but I'd like to hear from the admin, because I'm really liking the idea, as Councilmember Perez pointed out, that they will have more time to essentially do the work for the city and the constituents. And that was the problem, is that we were meeting so much, the turnover was so quick, they were not able to produce what we were asking as far as policy. So I'm curious if there's anybody here that would like to give their input on whether they would support this or not. And if not, that's totally okay. Thank you, Mr. Prado.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of City Council. Good evening. Yes, so in regards to the additional time, staff always appreciates additional time to work on staff reports in the planning sector and engineering. The reports are key. We have staff reports that we have to work on, resolutions and or ordinances, and those do take quite a bit of time, because it's not just the typing of the reports, but also the evaluation of the plans, if there's projects involved, any type of background information, discussion information, all of that takes time and effort and research, a lot of research, and so that definitely helps. And going with this discussion, I know that if there is an opportunity if there is a need for that second meeting, and there's potential for City Council to say, okay, we'll have a special meeting on the second regularly, what would be the second regularly scheduled meeting of the month, have that to be special meeting, then as the way I understand it, it would be strictly business. I think there is no, we would be discussing solely the items that are being requested. So that, there is that ability, but regarding time-wise for staff to work on reports, definitely is always appreciated when having the opportunity, but we can accommodate and try to adjust any way as possible.
Thank you, sir, for being brave enough to come up here and
No,
give us
sure,
your
you're
input.
welcome.
Thank
Real
you.
quick, Vice Mayor, I'm sure Tina doesn't want to come up because her items all went 3-0, so she probably doesn't want to rock the boat. But you do have, 3 different commissions that you have in a month? So that's another item that they're able to work with their commissions. And I want to kind of maybe change something. We did bring a development forward at one of our regular meetings, but that, if you remember, that developer
Yes.
asked for it to be withdrawn.
Yeah.
So that's probably why we don't kind of notice that we haven't, no development has been brought forward, but we did bring one forward.
Thank you. And then my final question would be for you, City Attorney. If there are 3 members up here, 2 or 4, 1 is opposed, what would happen then?
Table it.
For the report.
Vice Mayor Resendez, this is not up for any action, only for discussion and direction given to staff. And so the direction given to staff would be that 1 or 2 of you, whatever the case is, happen to want to consider it, and 1 or 2 of you, whatever the case is, do not want to. And then presumably it would come back for the council to consider it more in depth.
Thank you. So then therefore, nothing is going to be decided on tonight other than whether we're going to bring it back and have a discussion. I can definitely support that. To bring it back, to get consensus, to bring it back, just to have the discussion at a later date. Go ahead, sir.
If I may. I would like, I'm really torn because football season's here. And Bob?
The previous, I remember being in a meeting here, the previous city manager said that that was a council at one time actually moved the council meeting to a different date during football season, and it was moved back.
I like that guy. Anyways, but no, you know what? My thing that I don't like about this is how fair am I being to my constituents, to the residents? You know, I want to be fair to my staff, to our staff, to the staff, to be able to have time to do a thorough job. Not that you don't. It's just that it's a teeter-totter for me. So you know what? I'd like to hear a better, clearer picture of what it would look like. So I would vote yes to pass it on to see what it would look like. But I'm not convinced 100% that I would vote for it.
Thank
To
you, sir.
do the hard sell, we would still ask the council to meet with their constituents, same amount of time, not cut it in half. So we would hope that you would still be available to your citizens, and then we are, you know, same here, we'll be always available to the citizens of Hollister.
Councilmember Burns?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Just to wrap up my thoughts on this, I won't support it, and so I wouldn't want you to waste your time bringing something forward, but I respect the other council members' opinions. And I'd also be willing to move council meetings from a weekday to a weekend, if that would help as well. So I just put that out there.
Boy, you just threw a wrench into that one.
This meeting's going sideways.
And I too would support just bringing it back for council discussion. So if I'm understanding correct, we have consensus just to bring it back for consideration. Is that correct,
Yeah, and
council?
it's not a guarantee that I'm going to go for it.
Understandably.
Yeah, we understand
Thank you. All right, perfect. At this time, we're going to go ahead and move on to items H, I, J, K. There's no new business. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. We've got a motion to adjourn. Can I get a second?
Second.
You're on. All right, we've got a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Good night, everyone. Thank you.